Anxious to hear from our Secretary, Arnie Duncan. But before I have the privilege of introducing the Secretary to you, I'd like to acknowledge two very special guests who are joining us today. Many of you know that way back in 1991, the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy for School Funding, which represents more than 500 school districts in Ohio, filed a lawsuit in Perry County against the state of Ohio for failing to provide adequate funding for the education of our public schools. The case, known as DeRolph versus State of Ohio, was named for Nathan DeRolph, a high school student in the Northern Local School District in Perry County. The districts claimed that the state failed to provide an efficient educational system because of an over-reliance on local property taxes to fund our schools. The case went to the Ohio Supreme Court, and 4 times the court sided with the DeRolphs in declaring the current system of funding unconstitutional. And after many years of work, joining us today are Nathan and Dale DeRolph. Nathan was a freshman in high school when this suit was filed. He is now 33 years old and a father of 2 children. Their case spearheaded the nearly 2 decades-long effort to establish a constitutional school funding system in our state. The DeRolphs are here today to share their story. Please join me in honoring and welcoming Dale and Nathan DeRolph.
Thank you very much. Nate and I have talked about this hopefully being the last one of these that we attend, because if this fixes everything, you see, we won't have to do this. We'll just have to have some periodic upgrades, I think. So, as Governor Strickland said back in 1991, Nate was a freshman at Sheridan High School in Northern Local Schools in Perry County. And by that time, he had experienced split classes in elementary, use of old textbooks, labs without equipment or working equipment, and buildings that were under constant repair. I, at the same time, was on several advisory committees for the same school, and I'm now on that school board. I became aware and frustrated with the shortcomings that Nate had experienced, along with all of his classmates, and by the often hiring of our 3rd and 4th choices of teacher applicants that we had interviewed. Not to say that we weren't hiring good teachers, because I don't want to say that in any fashion, but it seemed we could not compete with other schools in terms of salaries offered to our 1st and 2nd choices of applicants.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Nate DeRolph. The DeRolph school funding suit was originally filed in '91, as you've heard. At the time, I was 15 years old and a freshman at Sheridan High School in Perry County. All I had seen was the few schools we traveled to for sports throughout southeastern Ohio, and I really didn't grasp the disparity between some affluent schools and others. Once my dad and I got involved, we traveled to some of the wealthier districts in Ohio and some of the poorest. I think I can speak for both of us when I say we were shocked. Wealthier schools had every college prep class you can imagine and extracurricular activities I thought only colleges offered. They had facilities and learning materials rivaled by none. Then we visited some of the poorer schools, and it was like being in a third world country. Buildings falling down, textbooks from the 60s and 70s, and minimal college prep courses, if any. It was a real eye-opener. I really thought by the time I was out of high school this suit would be settled and a new funding formula would be in place. That was 94. The case went to the Supreme Court in 97 and we won. Subsequently, the current funding system was ruled unconstitutional not once or twice, but 4 times by the highest court in Ohio. I hate to think what would happen if you or I ignored the Supreme Court. I thought with each ruling that they would have to fix school funding. How could they say no to the children of Ohio? But with each ruling came more backlash and more politics. More people saying school funding couldn't be fixed and that there was no good solution. The DeRolph suit was originally filed 18 years ago. The graduating class of 2009 was born when the lawsuit started. I'm now 33, married and with 2 kids of my own. There have been some